When I think about a journey of faith, I do think about that which I've always found to be unexpected. That's the way that my journey of faith began, and that's the way that it continues to be today. I've not really ever been able to plan that out. It's more like I'm following a path that is only revealed to me a couple steps at a time, and I find that to be very exciting. I like that. I would like that better than knowing what was planned out for me, where I'm going to be, who I'm going to be ministering to. It's just more exciting that way to see that God has all that planned out, and I just simply have to look for those opportunities. When I first began my ministry, let's just say that speaking to people, large groups of people or even small groups of people, were very difficult for me. I almost became paralyzed, and honestly I wasn't very good at it at all. Not good at all. Too self-focused is what I was. And I knew that God had called me, and I just didn't know how that was going to work out, because I knew that part of what He called me to was going to involve speaking to large groups of people and conveying sometimes intricate truths. Although I still say the gospel is simple, still I know that there are some things that God has done that need to be explained to people, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to do that. And as I said before, God works in my life in very unexpected ways. And I was a youth minister at the time, and one of my responsibilities was to drive a group of ladies to a retreat near Santa Fe, New Mexico at Glorieta. They were going there for a WMU conference, not something that I wanted to attend, or no sessions there that I could attend, so I looked for something else to do while they were there. And there was a youth event there that year. I think they called it Rec Week is what they called, but they had a pastor there that was speaking to about 300 young people every night. And he began to talk about the stories that are recorded in the book of Joshua, especially in chapters 1 through 7, about how we can trust God to get us where He needs us to be. And I listened to those stories, and they were just very intriguing to me. And that's where I began to learn that the answers to to what I thought were my shortcomings, how was I going to overcome, how was I going to do what God called me to do, I guess that's where I got the answers, because that week changed my life after I heard those messages. And those things that He had to say from the book of Joshua about being strong and of good courage, don't turn to the left or to the right. God can get you across the Jordan River, even if it's at flood stage. All that's recorded there. And that just inspired me. So two things I took away from that. The Bible can inspire you to do and show you that God can use you in any way that He wants to. And then in a practical way, when I went back to my church after taking the ladies up there, it was on occasion when I was going to have to deliver the morning sermon. I don't recall where my pastor was, but it was my responsibility that day, and as usual, I was nervous about it. I had some notes to remind me about things I wanted to say, but I recalled what I'd heard that week in Glorieta, and I just took those notes and I tossed them aside, and I just said, I'm going to trust God in this. And from that day forward, I've not ever had a moment speaking to people or in the pulpit where God did not give me what I needed, and to deliver it in a way that was sensible and put together well, and not that eloquence is needed, but in such a way that people could understand the truth that God was trying to convey to them. And now I have confidence in that, and I'm a much better teacher. I'm a great teacher, but not because of me. It's all God that's doing it, especially when I trust Him with my whole heart. One thing that I've learned, if God did it in the past, He can do it again, and He wants to do it again, and sometimes bigger and better than He's ever done it in the past. And by that I mean opportunities for ministry, the ability to do ministry, although that doesn't mean there's not sometimes that I don't get nervous about things or wonder if I can pull it off or wonder if I can do it. I will say this though, not a single time in my entire ministry, which now spans nearly 30 years, where God didn't give me everything that I needed to accomplish whatever opportunity He gave me or whatever He called me to do. And so that's how His work in my past has affected my present. I've been the pastor of 6 different churches, and so I don't look at them as individual experiences. I look at them as a whole experience. That every place that I've ministered to, I hope that I've been able to make the people stronger in their faith, but there's no doubt that I've become stronger in my faith too, that I've learned a lot in each of the ministries in which I've served. And by ministries, I mean either as pastor or as a youth minister or whatever role that I had. They seem to fit together. They seem to be a preparation for the future. They seem to be another step that God wants me to take. One of the biggest obstacles that I've had to overcome is sometimes I have wrong expectations. I'm hesitant to say too high of expectations, but sometimes I do expect people to see things that I see. And I'm talking about spiritual things. Not that I always see those things accurately, but I sometimes expect people to see the work of God when I see it, or how I see it, and that's not always the case. Although I'm confident that what I'm seeing is the work of God, I sometimes expect people to be at a certain level of spirituality that they might not have attained yet. Not that I've attained it, because I'm sure there's times that people have wondered why I haven't seen things as well. And that is the work of God around me. And that's always been a discouragement to me, when I know that people have been taught something about God, or even that they've experienced about God, but that they forget it. I think it's very important that we don't forget what God has done in our past. And I think God gets really, well, I don't know if I should use the word disappointed, but I think God would hope that we would remember what He did in the past so that we can build the kind of future that He wants us to have. As I said, there's been some times that I've been very disappointed, and I suppose that's kind of affected my zeal at times. But the fact of the matter is, I've always been able to recover from that, or God has always given me something so that I could recover from that. I've kind of noticed in my life that God will let me go so low, and then He'll intervene. He seems to do that. He'll let me get to the point where I think I can't take another thing, that I'm discouraged, that I don't want to try anymore, that I just want to give up on this whole idea of helping people to grow in their faith and become true disciples of Jesus Christ, and then God will do something and He'll bring me back to full strength. And so I've kind of noticed that cycle in my life. I go from this is very effective to this is not effective at all. And now I've gotten to the place where I know that even when I get in those kind of darker moments where I don't have a lot of zeal, a lot of excitement for the Lord, I know that sooner or later that God's going to show up, and He's going to bring me back. What keeps me passionate about my calling, and also what are some of the victories that I've had up to this point, just seeing people eyes open wide when they realize that God has really spoken to us a lot of truth, especially through the Bible, and that we need to build our lives on that truth. What keeps me passionate about my ministry is I know that there's a lot of things in the world that are just simply not true that people build their lives on, and it just frightens me that people will do that. It scares me for them. And so what really keeps me passionate about my ministry, and especially the teaching part of my ministry, is that I know that the truth that's revealed, that God has revealed to us, the truth that He has revealed about Himself, is essential to a person having a successful life. And I don't mean success in the terms of the world, but I mean success in terms of spirituality. And I consider the greatest victory in my life is that I haven't quit, that God has been faithful to keep me going, that God is still using me after all these years. I consider that the greatest victory. I don't look back on victories any other way than that, other than that He still has His hand on me, and that He still leads me to the places that He wants me to go, and that I'm still able to hear that. I consider that my greatest victory, and I attribute all that to Him.